Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? This is Roman Prepper. Hold on. The Roman Cricket Prepper, apparently. There we go. I hadn't done a Saturday sit rep in a while. I've had a lot going on. We got some remodeling being done in the house because we don't know if and when we have to move. Like I said, Roman Prepper. This is house number 8 for us in a 26-year relationship. So yeah, we move around a lot. What's funny is we spent 14 years in one spot. All the other moves were like 8 months, 12 months, a year, ding, 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 ding. So yeah, I can't complain though. I got a nice little home, but we do have to do some upgrades to it, and just in case we got to sell it. In any case, I'd like to do a Saturday sit rep for you guys, just so all of you can kind of get up to date with what's going on in the world. So, right now, so I'm going to do what I used to do. I'm going to start with the State Department reports, kind of going from Africa and then go around the world. So in Benin, they have what is unidentified armed persons in the north of the small West African country have killed about 15 people. They don't know who did it. They don't know why. This has been an ongoing issue. Sudan, Djibouti, Somalia, there's still a lot of instability in that country. There's rumors they have the Wagner Group and some American and UK contractors in these various countries. So I don't know what's going on, if it's proxy wars or corporate wars. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a corporate war. But in any case, but this next one's a new one. Japan pledges to help Mozambique fight terrorism. Now, this is the first time in many, many, many years that I've seen Japan commit to help fight a jihadi insurgency in a completely different country. Why is Japan helping out Mozambique? Now, I'm glad they are, but what's the tie there? Now, I tried to do a little digging. I couldn't figure out exactly what. I don't know if they're getting minerals from there, if Japan has interest, but this is the beginning of the resurgence of Japan, right? Japan, since World War II, has had a defense force only. They've kind of kept to themselves in the Pacific sphere. Now they're expanding the military. They're getting an offensive force built. So we're going to see changes going forward. So I think that's important. And hopefully they will continue to be a valuable U.S. ally, because I think Japan as a nation brings a lot to the table. Rwanda, 9 districts reel from the effects of devastating floods. So Rwanda, they have terrible floods right now. Lives, infrastructure, and crops. Notice a lot of crop damage the last 6 months, right? Have been devastated in a rainfall. 9 districts throughout northwestern Rwanda. Aggravating climate-related hazards. And then in Sudan, fighting continues. The U.S. has indicated they expect protracted fighting. Basically what that's saying is, regardless of who's funding who in the background, this is going to go on for a while, and that's not good. A lot of this instability in Africa will spill over, and ultimately it also creates surges of people trying to migrate. They want to leave where they are because they don't want to die. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So East Asia and Pacific. So China press group, China's biggest global jailer of journalists. This should not be a surprise to anyone. China is being held accountable by this international group for arresting and holding over 100 journalists, not all of whom are Chinese nationals. They've arrested people from other countries. So this is that's a problem, right? Because anyone who's trying to spread information is getting pinched down. This has been going on for a while. I'm really curious to hear how the Uyghur situation, how the Hong Kong situation are actually panning out. Ever since the Rona hit, China on the ground media, Twitter, the whole 9 yards has been very pinched up. So I'm curious what's going on. And speaking of China, the Philippines, President Marcos says the Philippine bases would be useful if Taiwan is attacked. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., and this is from Reuters. Sorry, I forgot to give you references here. on Thursday that granting U.S. access to the Philippine military bases was a defensive step that would be useful if they or China were attacked. This is the first time the Philippine president outright said, hey, that's a possibility. They could attack us. They could attack Taiwan to attack everybody, and we stand together. And this is a problem for China, right? Because if they mix it up with Taiwan, they're going to have to hit the Philippine bases to kind of deflate a reply or deflate the response. And that's going to drag the Philippines in. If it drags the Philippines in, the Australians are going. If the Aussies go, the Brits and the US are going to go. And you see how those dominoes can quickly fall. So this is really, really interesting. And hopefully it doesn't escalate, because that war would be fought over the South China Sea, which literally is responsible for like 40% of the international trade shipping going around the globe goes through that area. And it would be a shit show. Ships will have to get diverted. You know, ships are going to get sunk by accident because there's the confusion, the fog of war. So, yeah, that's not bueno. Europe, Russia, Ukraine. Kiev reports the fourth day of strikes directly on the city. The Kremlin vows revenge for the drone incident. Now, if you caught the live, I did a double live with the Angry Prepper on Thursday, the 4th. And we started at 8, and then we hit the end of the first one, and he's like, you want to jump on the Angry Truth? I'm like, sure, why not? And we just kept going. This is going to be a problem. That drone strike, even though I don't buy, it was either the most ineffective drone strike ever, it was symbolic, it was an attempt to coup d'etat their own president by the Russians, or it was staged, either staged or was a training exercise, and they decided to use it as a reason to escalate. And now there's got a reason, because now they're hitting everything. The United Nations said it was sad and appalled by the bombardments as Moscow vowed retaliation for an alleged attack on the Kremlin. That's the Washington Post. By the way, going back for reference, Africa News had the Japan-Mozambique story. Sorry, I kind of am a little screwed up today. Serbia. Serbian president vows to disarm nation after 2 mass shootings, which is odd. Serbia normally doesn't have that. But the Serbian president is also pro-Russian. He's a bit of he leans very dictatorial, and so that's not good. It says 8 dead in a drive-by shooting in Serbia a day after 9 were killed at a school. So, yeah, they're trying to take away those rights for those folks. Going to the United Kingdom, anti-monarchists to protest Charles's coronation. There's a group of people who do not believe the monarchy should even exist in England. Anti-monarchists are expected to stage large-scale protests in London during the coronation of Britain King Charles III. Middle East, North Africa. This is and that King Charles was on ABC News. Middle East, North Africa. Iran is planning more robots at sea in the Middle East U.S. is planning more robots at sea in the Middle East to combat Iran. So read this. The U.S. is trying to convince Middle East allies to add dozens of more robot vessels around the Arabian Peninsula to better detect threats from countries like Iran. That sounds a little bit like naval drones, doesn't it? We're going to see an evolution, maybe not on the ground, but that evolution of drones supplementing human fighters. Right now, the 5th-gen fighter aircraft supposedly have a capability of attacking another plane or attacking like a ground target and have drones with it, that the drones can then spread out. So each fighter plane would have 2 to 4 drones following it. And the co-pilot gives a command to the drones, and the drones pick different targets, and then the 5 attack at once, and then they fly away. Or if the plane needs to retreat, the drones will engage the enemy while the fighter plane or the bomber retreats. So I don't know how that's going to play out. This is going to be very interesting to see. Then in Iran, an analysis which I did not know of. Reuters. Smoldering Iran nuclear crisis risks catching fire. Even as the U.S. and European allies grapple with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and tensions with China, a smoldering crisis over Iran's nuclear program threatens to reignite. Iran is pushing very hard for more atomic and nuclear capabilities, Israel is not having it. That's a situation that can very easily get very ugly in the Middle East. And to those of you who are students of biblical scholars, we now have, supposedly, I believe they said Magog or Gog would be a northern country from Israel, which would, I guess, be Russia, or the Ottomans, which would be Turkey. But then they always said that the end of days would start in the Holy Land, in Israel, Palestine area. Again, not being preachy, I'm just saying it's interesting to see these biblical and historical references coming back full circle. And look who's involved now: the Russians, the Chinese, the kings from the east, the king from the north, aka Gog Magog. And again, I don't remember the breakdown of who was there. I think Gog was from Magog or vice versa. So if I said that wrong and you're familiar with biblical study, please put it in the comments, because I'd like to know. It would educate me. In any case, dangerous times, a lot of volatility there, and the Israelis do have nukes. South and Central Asia, India and Pakistan. Pakistan's foreign minister is visiting India. Why is the Pakistan foreign minister visiting India? To create an FP account to save articles. Oh, sorry. Nope. That was them create a foreign policy subscription. Duh. That's what happens when you read too fast. In any case, Pakistan's foreign minister is visiting with India. It would probably be in everyone's interest that the two nuclear powers in South Central Asia make peace with each other and stop fighting over provinces and shit, because that can go sideways quickly. Kazakhstan bans gas supplies to Russian Taman port. The leadership of the railways of Kazakhstan prohibit the transport of oil and oil products to the Russian Black Sea port of Taman from May 8th. This was reported by Reuters with reference to the relevant order. So, yeah, the little countries, now that Russia's tied up in a war, Kazakhstan, Georgia, they're all throwing rocks back at Russia. Like, well, you beat us up a few years ago, so we're going to throw rocks at you now. But again, it's undertones of World War I, where you have a lot of small countries and big countries with these overlapping alliances and hatreds, and it just takes someone or something to set a bunch of things off, and the dominoes start to fall. One of the things that really screwed in World War I was the long time it took to communicate. It was by courier, it was by letter, in some cases telegraph. Getting messages to other leaders was a challenge. Now, not so much. Like, President Biden could call Putin directly via cell phone, but things can still happen. Communications can go down, or military units may react before leaders get informed of what's going on, and that ultimately can cause a lot of pain. So again, another thing to be mindful of. And oh, hold on here. Then the Western Hemisphere. So Chile's voters set to take a big step in Constitution redraft 2.0. Chileans will vote to elect 50 constitutional advisors after voters overwhelmingly rejected a first attempt in a plebiscite last September to replace the dictatorship-era charter. So they're trying to move away from dictatorship, but they're struggling with how to put their constitution together. Hopefully they can do that. I think it would be great. Guatemala, I wouldn't travel there right now. AP News, a volcano of fire erupts in Guatemala. Guatemala's volcano of fire. Residents were evacuated Thursday from the slopes of Guatemala's volcano fire as red-hot rock and ash flowed down the slopes toward the area devastated by a deadly 2018 eruptions. Haiti, fire consumes a popular street market. Haiti's just a hot mess. The government's lost control of the docks, but they have control of the airport. I've seen multiple warnings not to go to Haiti right now. Those poor folks are just suffering. Mexico, the peso appreciates to the strongest level since September of 2017. So this is Mexico News Daily. The Mexican peso appreciated to strongest level against the US dollar in almost 6 years. So it's $1 equals 17.83 pesos. That's actually really good, because I've had to do that exchange before. But at the same time, Mexico's president defends son after report alleging corruption. So still struggling with problems. Folks, there's a lot of instability, a lot of talk about inflation. a lot of talk about trade barriers being put up. What concerns me, and we talked about it on the live stream last night, you're seeing a lot of commercial real estate, residential real estate are expected to start tumbling. Residential's already starting to go down. Rentals are flatlining, and that's exactly what happened in 2008. We're seeing the same pattern now. I was trying to find the graph I originally found. I really need to take a snapshot of this shit when I see it, but they're starting to tumble. But the big difference between now and 2008 is that the commercial real estate market never recovered from COVID, and now it's getting worse. And a lot of regional banks are very susceptible to regional commercial real estate and just residential as a whole. If that starts to tank, I fear we will see a slew of banks fail in Q3, possibly into Q4. I could be wrong. This is pure speculation, but the trends, the graph trends, the data that I've seen from analysts and conversations with bankers personally I've had, and some other stuff, they're starting to take that negative turn, and that's bad stuff. Some people are pulling all their money from the bank. You can if you want to. I think diversify, have your money in different banks. I think even Economic Ninja pointed this out. Spread it out, have it in money market, have it in banks, have some cash, have some gold and silver. Diversify, because remember, prepping isn't about covering every possible situation, right? Because it's impossible to do that. Instead, being prepared is giving yourself time to think and options to work with, to me anyway. And that's basically preparedness in a nutshell. So by having gold, by having cash, by having silver, by having stocks and bonds, but also savings and money market, spread your money out a little bit, you're not as at risk. Now, if you do move banks, remember, make sure it's an FDIC insured. Don't jump into something with a high interest rate that's not considered a savings or checking account. They may not be FDIC insured, and if that bank goes over, you're SOL. So don't let that happen to you. Spread it out a little bit. And just be smart. Read up, pay attention, make sure you have food, because supply chain disruptions always get involved into this recession shit. We talked about it last night, and you can see from the reports, the State Department stuff, and this is all public release, right? There's a lot of instability with various countries, a lot of migration movement, people running from war, people running from floods, people running from famine. It's going to put even more pressure on the economies that are still functioning, and it could get ugly. So folks, that's it for this one. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will, while you're watching this, will probably be at the farmer's market. Got to take a little bit of time down, get some stuff done at the house, get to reorg a bit. And you guys be good, be safe, God bless, and Godspeed if you're traveling. And collaborate, help each other out while we still have an internet. We may not have an internet 6 months from now or a year from now. We may not have one a month from now. We don't know. We might have it forever. It may never go away. It may, all this may blow over. But I'd rather hedge on something happening and then nothing happens than the other way around. I probably said that backwards, but you guys get what I'm saying. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I will see you on the next one.